There's a huge difference between being busy and being effective. And most people don't realize it, but the way they use their time is the hidden reason they stay stuck, stressed, overwhelmed, or never seem to hit the goals they keep talking about. We think we're working hard, we think we're doing all the things, but when we really look at it honestly, a lot of us spend too much of our time reacting instead of building. We jump every time someone needs something, we answer every notification, we put out every fire, and then we wonder why we're exhausted at the end of the day, but didn't move any closer to the life, the results, or the version of ourselves we want. So today I want to talk about the biggest shift that separates people who spin their wheels from people who consistently make progress. It's not talent, it's not motivation, it's not more time, it's how we choose to spend the time we already have. Because when you take control of your time, you take control of your direction. And when you take control of your direction, you take control of your future. So today's video is about evaluating how we spend our time, and I'm going to give you some tips and practical tools that will empower you to be more productive and accelerate progress towards your goals. Real quick, before we get into that, I want to say a big thank you for subscribing. I am so grateful that you're finding this content useful. I know I use the phrase life-changing a lot when I describe what I'm sharing, but that's because I mean it, and that's why I want to share it. Please also comment on how this information resonates with you and how you use it as you progress in your journey to accelerate your growth, recover faster, and master change. Now in this video, there are 3 tips and tools that I'm going to discuss today. One is the time management matrix from productivity expert Stephen Covey. We'll spend most of our time on this. I will briefly cover the just started approach and close with discussing what I call time audits. First is one of the concepts from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, called First Things First. This means working on tasks based on their importance, not just their urgency or sense of urgency. Covey has a time management matrix that I'll show on screen that I learned about in a training I did in high school, and it completely changed how I manage my time. So picture me in high school, and you should know that I had bleach blonde hair then, and it was before we knew how to do blonde well, so I was a nice shade of bottled yellow. And I'm in this productivity training in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'm having this revelation that I am in way more control of my outcomes than I ever realized. Before that, I liked to work hard and go for what I wanted, but what I wanted was to do well in school and a job at Dairy Queen. In this training, I learned to prioritize, plan realistically, and evaluate how I used my time to see if it got me the results I wanted, and I got the tools to do all of this. I learned to make time for all aspects of the type of life I wanted, so I started to treat my calendar like a budget and set goals not just for career, but also for character. I knew I needed to protect my time in order to achieve what I wanted to, so I didn't just put meetings and tasks on my calendar, but I would block out time dedicated to uninterrupted work for specific goals and projects, and I still do all of this to this day. There's so much that we learned in this training, but the tool that I'm going to share with you today is the time management matrix. In this matrix, there are 4 quadrants. The first is tasks that are both urgent and important, the stuff you have to do and you have to do it right now. Quad 2 is for things that are important to us but not urgent. Quad 3 is for the stuff that feels urgent but isn't important, and it usually feels urgent because it's important to someone else. And Quadrant 4 is activities where we just kind of zone out and waste time. The activities that you'll see listed in this quadrant, like TV and social media, they're not bad ways to spend our time. This is referring to when it becomes excessive and a way to avoid doing other things that we need or want to. I am a strong believer in spending time in Quadrant 2 on items that are important but not urgent. This is where we want to spend the bulk of our time, and where really successful people do spend most of their time, focusing on what they know needs to be done, whether or not it feels urgent at the time. Covey's brand describes it in that, quote, "Our sense of what is urgent often depends on how we feel, while our sense of what is truly important depends on how well we've thought about our values and planned accordingly," end quote. The first quadrant is the emergencies, the fires that we have to put out or that may descend upon us from our superiors. For example, in the form of urgently needed information for a meeting, even though that meeting's been on the calendar for a month. The third quadrant is described as distractions, and usually it's for items that feel urgent and important but aren't really, like interruptions, a phone call or text, or any of the many notifications we get these days. Just because someone calls or texts you doesn't mean you have to deal with it right away. Deal with it when you have time, and don't get distracted from the important work that you are doing. Turn off notifications if you need to. I've heard the cell phone described as a slot machine in our pocket because of the addictive tendencies it leads us all to. Just because it is someone else's priority or something that is urgent to them doesn't mean it has to be urgent for you. Finally, the last quadrant is the time wasters, like gossiping or escape activities, scrolling through social media when we know we should be doing something else. We all need relaxation, but we know when we're honest with ourselves if we're doing it to avoid something else. Some of the distinguishing factors amongst the quadrants are that urgent is usually reactive versus important is usually proactive. And urgent things are usually more visible, whereas important things are more about the results. So be a quad 2 type of person. Set yourself up to spend as much of your time on what is important, not just what is urgent. Another quick tip on work that is important but not urgent: this type of work can often be intimidating, so remember the just start it strategy. Just commit to working on it for 5 minutes and get started. You will be amazed at how much it relieves the pressure you are putting on yourself and at the progress you will make in such a short amount of time. So spend 5 minutes on something that's really intimidating you or that you're really dreading and see how far you get. Then, and this is key, plan the next time you will work on it again, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Put that time on your calendar, and soon enough you're going to have momentum, and you're going to even look forward to the next time you will work on that task, and eventually you'll be able to put the time in that it really needs, and you'll do so with ease and confidence versus that dread and anxiety. Now I want to talk about what I call the time audit. We also need to evaluate how we spend our time and if we are actually effective with that time in achieving what we plan to do. A lot of us do and try, but I don't see a lot of analysis of that doing and trying. Why might that be? Because it takes time, honesty, effort, courage. Is it fear because we're afraid of what it might tell us, like that we may have to change our approach, and change in and of itself is scary and annoying? Leadership expert John Maxwell said if he could watch you for 24 hours, he could tell what direction your life is headed and whether you'd be a success or failure. I will literally do time audits, tracking how I spend my time for a few days and what I produce during that time. Then I look at it and I ask myself, is this what I expected? Is this what I want? And what do I need to do differently? Stop just running around doing all the time without ever taking the time to check if your actions are working. If something isn't working, try something else. Make sure you've given it your honest effort, but it's okay to quit if it ain't working, because this allows you to move on faster to what may work for you. I make it a daily habit to ask myself, is this the most important thing I need to be doing right now? You can also put time on your calendar on a regular basis, such as at the end of the week, to evaluate how you spent your week and if you were able to accomplish what you planned to, what you wanted to, what you needed to. Then determine what you have control over versus what you don't, and change what needs to be changed. Remember, you are the person in charge of your schedule, so take control of your time, your actions, and therefore your outcomes. So as you move forward from today, I want you to start looking at time differently, not as something that controls you, but something you have the power to direct. And ask yourself every single day, is this important or just urgent? Is this taking me where I want to go, or just keeping me busy? Because you have a choice. You can keep reacting to life and letting your time get stolen by distractions, other people's priorities, and habits that you know it's time to be done with, or you can choose to lead your life on purpose. And when you do that, everything changes. Do the time audits, protect your focus, work in Quadrant 2, build the things that matter before they become emergencies. And remember, your schedule is a reflection of your values and your future. You're in charge of your time, your actions, and your outcomes. Take ownership of it, step into that power, and watch what happens when your effort finally aligns with your priorities. Live in truth, own your power, and take control of your time.